So I'm joined today by Lord Clark, who's kindly agreed to speak with us about the new live streaming of the Criminal Appeal Court. Good afternoon, Lord Clark.
Good afternoon.
So I have a number of questions just to ask of you with regards to this new move. And I wonder if we could just start off by asking, I'm aware that Scotland's courts were the first in the UK to allow the filming of sentences in significant criminal cases.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the hope in live streaming from the appeal court?
Yes, well, it of course builds up on what was happening with civil appeals. So we had probably for the last 2 years or so, I think we've had something like 68 civil appeals live streamed. And I believe that for the heavy duty ones, as it were, we've had perhaps 5,000 people watching them online. So what we're doing is developing it. I should just add that it's not only the civil appeals, we'll also get a first instance, a civil case, if that's at a very high level, and that will be live streamed. So we're really just building up on the success of that. The success, I think, is just the accessibility of the public to see the court system. Of course, they can come into the courts are public generally anyway. The public can come in and watch. The media can come in, but the very fact that it can just be accessed by clicking the link on the SCTS website, I think that helps. Lots of people. For example, if you've got, if there's been a trial in Inverness, somebody's been convicted up there, the complainer lives up there, complainer's family members and friends are there, the accused family members and friends are there, then there's an appeal out of that. They don't all have to come, travel to Edinburgh. They can come if they want, of course. They don't have to come to Edinburgh to see that. They can just click on the link and watch it. So I think that's the positives are really just to allow as much public access as possible. And we've got that, when was it, just over 100 years ago, we had that expression about justice is not only done, it needs to be seen to be done. And that's really where we are going with it. We want it to be seen to be done, and we want the public to access it. And of course, individual elements I've mentioned already, complainers, the accused, family members, etc. So the media, academics, students, advocates, solicitors, trainee lawyers, etc. But the point is the public in general. So that's where we're going. Of course, where we are at the moment is there are only two courts. Court 1 for the civil appeals and the sort of heavy-duty first instance cases, and Court 2 for the criminal appeals. So we're doing it for the criminal appeals. At the moment, we're going to do it for conviction appeals and Crown sentence appeals, but we're keeping the whole thing under review, and we're seeing how we can extend it in due course.
All right. So just picking up on a few points there, and you've mentioned, and we do see in the first instance trials courts occasionally you'll have members of the public coming in or interested parties. So why has the appeal court been chosen rather than a court of first instance to start off, certainly the live stream?
Yes, well, as I say, we're just constantly moving along. We're in this world of things online. That happens in so many circumstances. The court needs to adapt to that. And on the criminal side, it may be in due course we get to looking at trials rather than appeals, but there's a lot more complication about that. There may be private discussions going on, for example, which we don't want to be recorded there. So really, at the moment, we're simply seeing appeals as being the good starting point on the criminal side. As I say, it will be kept under review. We'll see where we can go with it. There are the complications of, witnesses giving evidence. There may be trauma-informed situations which have to be dealt with, etc. So there's a whole range of things we need to look at. We need to make sure we look after witnesses, complainers, the accused, be fair to everybody. But we'd like to get there, I should say. But at the moment, it's just, this is really the first step on the criminal side.
All right. And so people watching the live stream, will they get to see the entire case and also see all the parties involved, or are there specific focus of cameras and views to be seen?
What you tend to see is just the judges coming on to the bench, and then if a judge asks a question at any time, the camera will focus on that particular judge. But beyond that, the camera will tend to focus on the individual making the submissions. You know, counsel for the appellant, the accused, or the advocate depute. So that's what you'll tend to see, the person making the submissions. Now, the accused will tend to, can be there in person, but quite commonly will tend to join on screen in the court. Probably won't be seen in the live streaming hearing itself, but we'll be able to watch and follow the whole thing on screen. So yeah, basically, apart from saying the judges coming in, the focus will be on who is actually speaking at the time, so that everyone can pick up exactly what's being said by whom.
All right. Do you think there is a risk then that the courts may become more performative over time if live streaming becomes standard? What are your thoughts on that?
I suppose there's the two main elements are perhaps the judges on the one hand and practitioners on the other. My experience, I've done a number of civil appeals. I did the first of the criminal appeals, and certainly my experience thus far is that the judges behave exactly the same way. They'll ask their questions. They'll try to be as clear and independent as possible, of course. And you'll get, from what I've seen, counsel don't appear any differently. You know, they're giving their submissions in more or less exactly the same way, whether or not it's actually being live streamed. So I don't, for my part at the moment at least, I don't see that causing any particular issues.
I suppose it's like anything else that's new. At first, people may be conscious of cameras and something a bit different, but in time, just focus on the job and you quickly forget about these things.
Yes, exactly. That's right. I guess I haven't seen any concern so far as counsel are concerned about the fact that it's being live streamed. They're just addressing the court and doing their best to, you know, properly put forward their arguments.
Yeah, I read as well that there will be a summary provided ahead of each hearing, which will also hopefully help those not familiar with the courts to understand a little of what's going on ahead of the appeal starting.
Yes, we think that's crucial for the public. I mean, quite often in an appeal, whether a civil or a criminal appeal, there'll have been written submissions lodged by each side, and counsel for the appellant might simply adopt the written submissions and move on to certain key points. And simply watching that may not be entirely clear to the public. So it's something we're looking into. We might, for example, at some stage invite counsel on either side to give a summary. But you're absolutely right. What we're going to put on the website is a summary of what's happening. So that can be read, and we tend to have the law clerks doing that, and it's one of the things that I will look at. Occasionally, other judges will look at it as well, and we'll try and make sure it's as clear as possible for the public. So yes, it's very helpful to have that overview on the web page. Yeah.
Do you imagine a future where live streaming evolves into more interactive formats? So, for example, annotated streams that explain legal terms or provide context in real time?
Yes, it's something that we will constantly develop it. So we could get to that sort of stage. At the moment, I suppose it's really just been, but well, we had the pandemic, we had the technology in the court system developing. In a sense, that was one of the positives of the pandemic. The court system got into remote hearings, etc. So we're just, you know, it's fairly recently that we've been doing this development. As I say, we've had the civil appeals. We're moving on now to the criminal appeal court. But our key aim is constant development to assist public access, etc. So we will keep it all under review. We may well get to that stage, but I'm afraid at this juncture, I can't say precisely when that's going to happen.
Yeah. And just looking at any future developments in that, is there a risk that increased accessibility through live streaming might then blur the boundary between the solemnity of justice and the courts and the gravitas there, and the immediacy of entertainment media, where it becomes a little bit like, you know, I'm not saying not real life, but just there's, you know, with the current culture of that immediacy, I think it may influence things there.
Again, that's something we'll just simply have to keep an eye on as matters develop. But it's very much really just, again, the formal court process being shown from the start, the parties appearing, the submissions, etc. I don't see it at the moment as creating any particular negatives in that regard. You know, the feedback we've had so far, both from you know, council and indeed any others who have watched various live streaming and being practiced, they've all been quite content with it. So at the moment, I don't see it causing any great problems. It remains to be seen just precisely how many hearings we are going to have live streamed. We've got 21 courts, I think it is, across Scotland for criminal procedure. Will we ever get to the stage of having live streaming in each one of them? You know, I doubt it. So it may be that it will continue to develop. We'll keep an eye on it. It will be reviewed as we go along, as I've said. But I don't, at the moment, I'm not concerned about any particular problems arising.
Yeah, it's really just gaining or allowing greater access, I suppose, isn't it? Where it may have been in days gone past, people would go along to courts, but now, yeah, you know, accessing that from a device at your own leisure in your own comfort of your own home, I suppose, is to be built upon, and it just allows for that kind of insight into courts, which otherwise people may never see or understand.
Yes, exactly. We're opening the courts to the wider audience, as it were, and as I say, a whole range of people, well, the public in general can watch it, but there'll be a number of people who will be quite interested in watching criminal appeals or indeed civil appeals or the high level first instance cases. So yeah, that's really what it's all about. In a sense, it's, as I said earlier, the public can access the court system. We're simply saying more of you can access it whenever you want from wherever you are, just by clicking on the web page. So that's the fundamental point. And I think it helps the integrity of the justice system. It's just extremely useful for the public to have as much information as possible. And if they've got any feedback, no doubt that can be you know, that can be picked up. So yeah, it's really just wider public access. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think you've probably already answered my last question, but I'll ask it anyway in case you have any other thoughts. But if you imagine courts 20 years from now, what role do you see technology playing in how justice is delivered and understood? I suppose you've already said you're keeping a watching brief on how this develops, but can you imagine how it may be used in the future?
Yes, well, one of the things that's been going on, Ray, for some years has been trying to get the legal system properly and fully involved in online matters, and that's happened with, for example, parties lodging detailed documents online in electronic form. You know, the judges being able to access all documents on their computers, their laptops, and no longer needing to have lots and lots of paper documents shown to. We can print material off if we need it. Where will we get to in 20 years? Well, I think we simply want to have as much use, online as we can to assist the public and indeed parties and the court service. But there must be limits to that. So I think it's really just continuing to look into the best ways to allow the public full and clear information about how the court service is performing.
Absolutely. Well, Lord Clerk, that's been a really insightful and interesting discussion with you. Thank you so much for your time in sharing the thinking behind this live streaming and your own personal thoughts on the matter. We're really grateful to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.